Welcome again to the S.E.M podcast. I am your host, Zack Hewlett, and Jack Bryce is with us or will be with us here shortly. Today, we're joined by our friend Christian Lucas. Christian, tell us where you're calling from today.
Yeah, cool. So I'm calling from Crewe. It's in Cheshire in England. My internet's working better than your American internet by the sounds of it.
must be something popular on the streaming right now.
Yeah, I think I heard America's going downhill. Seems like it's true.
Oh, geez. Throw us some more. Come on.
Gonna starting it early.
Pile it on. It's American versus Britain right now. Here we go. All right, mate. So remind me, are you from the Cheshire area, or did you move there after?
Yeah, I basically grew up in Cheshire from kind of about 6 until I left on my mission. I've been kind of all over the place since then, and ended up back here. So yeah, this is where I'm from. This is where I've stayed.
Nice.
Very interesting life.
No, that's okay. I mean, to each their own. It's kind of an interesting journey that we all go on, right? And that's, some people stay home. Like if you listen to Cofert's podcast, he moved 5 minutes away from his parents' house or whatever the distance is, and to each their own, right? It's
Exactly.
all good. So, just to remind you of the format, we'll talk about pre-mission and anticipation of your call, and then your reaction to getting your call to Scotland. Skip over to life afterwards, after Scotland, and what you've been up to from then to now, and then we'll go back through the mission. So the floor is yours, Christian.
Cool. Well, before I start, I just want to thank you and Jack for setting this up. It's just a phenomenal thing. I listened to yours first, and just the amount of kind of memories that came back, it was just like this tidal wave of reminiscence. Just must have been so annoying for everybody around me for the next 3 days, on my mission kind of stories, and they had to listen to all those. I had an interview with a girl who's going to come work for us, or she was going to, if she was successful. And she was talking about what she wanted to do with life, and she was just missing the mark completely. She's about 19. So I said, right, let's forget this interview. Let me talk you how you're going to get there. When I was 19, I was serving a mission, and this mission gave me these skills and did that kind of thing. And it just, I was just so enthused about the whole missionary experience just from listening to yours. And then the other night I listened to Cofert's, and I was just chuckling away. It's just fantastic. Now, I don't even know this because you left pretty quick after President Frederick arrived. But one of the things that he was told when he began his mission, that the success of his mission would be measured by where his missionaries were in 10 years' time. So I don't know if you know that at all, but this is just a fantastic forum and a way for us to see where everyone's at. And if he's listening, President Frederick, we love you, and thanks for everything you've done. And I hope that he's pleased with where everyone is. From what I've heard so far, it's just a really uplifting and inspirational way of kind of keeping in touch and just touching base and seeing where everyone is. So thanks for setting it up.
Yeah, no, it's been a true pleasure for both Jack and I to reconnect, both with companions and other fellow missionaries that we spent a good majority of time together with. And so it's been really one of those things where it's a true labor of love, right? It's an opportunity for all of us to just come together, talk about life, and enjoy the common times that we had together while we were in Scotland, and then beyond that, know where people are and what we're up to nowadays. It's since Scotland, all of us have kind of scattered ourselves across the earth, and it's fun to catch up and see what life has brought us since that time. So
yeah, absolutely. So I should probably get back on track, right?
Oh yeah, you're good. Go ahead.
Yeah. And so I had my patriarchal blessing when I was 12 years old, and by that point, I already had 2 missionaries in our family serve. With my 2 older brothers, my dad had served; they'd all gone to London, and so even at that point, and before I knew I was going on a mission, it wasn't like a decision that I had to make. Before that, I went to school with, how many were most of the people in your school members of the church?
For me, yes. I mean, I grew up in the south of Salt Lake City, so there was a pretty large majority.
That's how it went. So for me, it was me and one sibling. So every day I wasn't ashamed of the church. People knew I was a member. So every day I was talking about it and kind of defending it and being teased or bullied about it. And it wasn't an issue for me. I wasn't worried about sharing the gospel. I was excited for another 2 years of that kind of thing. About 18, 19, that I suppose it started getting a bit more difficult. The adversary always kind of throws some things in there to make it less enticing to go. My life was getting pretty established then. I had a job. I was an analytical chemist, and a girlfriend. She wasn't a member. I was going to uni as well part-time, but it was never anything in my mind that I was not going to go on a mission. And there was a kid from my friends group at school, and his name was Carl, and he became like a driving force or a motivator for me, not necessarily to serve, but how I was going to serve. So he ended up getting diagnosed with renal cancer, and it turned out that this was terminal. And so he was just a top guy. He had some genetic conditions which affected his mobility and his hearing, but it didn't bother him at all. He was teased about it, and he teased everybody else about other stuff. And yeah, he was just a fantastic guy. Anyway, to cut a long story short, he gave me a call, and he's a Christian. You're kind of the only member of our friends group that's of any faith. Can you bring me some rosary beads? And I don't know why, but that really kind of hit me. He's my friend, and he's asking for rosary beads. I've not taught him the plan of salvation, the gospel of Jesus Christ, and he's looking to pass over the veil, and I felt like I'd let him down. And so he became then like an inspiration, a reason for me to serve. And so, yeah, that was my kind of decision to serve. And that was a motivator for me throughout my mission. And yeah, a good one, I think, because I didn't want to leave anything out there and feel like I was responsible ever again for somebody not knowing the things they needed to know about the truthfulness about the gospel of Jesus Christ.
Interesting. That's really cool. So as far as receiving your call, tell us that story.
Yeah. Right. And so I'm a summer baby. I'm probably the whitest person you will ever meet. And my skin doesn't like the sun very much, but my soul does. I've had a few sunburn issues, but I don't care. I love the sun. So when I was putting my application form in, I thought I was pretty good at Spanish, I'd done high school Spanish. I'm ready. And so I put, I'm going to want to go Spanish speaking. I put on need at least about 4 weeks notice. And just before I'd received my call, my bishop came and he gave me a blessing. And at the end of the blessing, he said, "Christian, I've just got a distinct impression you're going to go somewhere cold. I've just got this vision of rain and snow." And I thought, yeah, whatever. I've put Spanish speaking on the form. I'm going somewhere warm. Nowhere Spanish speaking is cold. And so from that point on, randomly, I started getting just teased about, "Are you going to go to Scotland? You're going to go to Glasgow," particularly. Everybody was making, you're going to go to Glasgow. And I just started getting like, there's no way I'm just going to say no. If they send me to Glasgow, I'm saying no. It's, it's like you guys going to Idaho or something like this. It's not far. I can get there on a train in 3 hours, and it's cold. It's miserable. The knife crime issue. And I was. If I go to Glasgow, I'm going to say no. And that was my attitude. I was looking forward to going wherever I was going to go, except for Scotland. It was the last place I wanted to go. So I went to work, and I'd never ever done this. I locked my keys in my car. I got like the nastiest, tiniest little car. It wasn't even mine; it's my mother's. Embarrassing, but I'd lock the keys in the car. So I called my parents, and they said, "Yeah, we'll come and bring the keys." So I could go out at lunch. And weirdly, my parents had come, and there's my mum, my dad, my sister, maybe I think it was a brother in the car as well. Like, why are they all here? I open the car, they jump into my tiny little car, and she hands me this envelope. and kind of sprung it on me. I wasn't ready. I was going to get psychologically prepared to open this thing and be in my zone. But I opened it up. You are hereby called to serve in the Scotland Edinburgh Mission. And I've heard stories about everybody else. Oh, that's so cool. Other COVID was just super excited about going to Scotland. Probably the same for you two. And I was just keeping the tears inside, waiting for my parents to leave the car. They left the car, and I cried for about 10 minutes. I did not want to go to Scotland. And beyond that, they'd given me 3.5 weeks to get ready to go. That was in June, and I was due to go to the MTC on July 5th. And so I had to give 4 weeks work notice of work. I was going on holiday for a week and a half or so to Italy. And then I had to tell my girlfriend, who wasn't a member, by the way, in 3 weeks I'm going. It was just all horribly traumatic and nasty. Yeah, it's not the exciting thing. Oh, we're going to Scotland that you guys get. For me, it was right. This is a trial of faith. I told my girlfriend I was going. That was all horrible and crying. And then I just remember just feeling horrible about this whole situation. Didn't want to go there. I was going to end up in Glasgow. I knew I was going to end up in Glasgow. And so I just got on my knees. I got on my knees and I prayed. And that was one of the most faith-affirming experiences that I've ever had. From the top of my head to the tip of my toe, I could just feel peace just go through me. And I had no issues from then until the time I left the MTC, which was probably, I guess, then about 6 weeks. I was just, peace. And, it's just a wonderful experience that when you need it, you pray for it, God will grant you peace. And that was my receiving call experience.
I love it. Wow. Yeah. And you're right. Like the perspective that we've heard from you and also from other English missionaries we've talked to so far has all been pretty much the same, right? It's the equivalent of a Utah kid getting called to Idaho, or just it's a typical thing. And for us that are in America, like you said, we don't get that because we went, international English speaking, even though it's not really traditional English by that definition. And so yeah, I can understand the trauma. I mean, interestingly enough, there was a brother in my ward today that shared a little bit of his mission experience, and he grew up in Colorado, got a mission call to the southernmost mission in Mexico, but didn't get a visa, and so he got reassigned to the Salt Lake City South mission, which is where my family live. And I was like, man, that had to have been the most devastating thing. And and so I can relate to it, but not personally, just from other people's experience. So I get that. But yeah, I get it. I mean, that had to have been a little bit of a challenge for you, but to hear the confirmation of peace that you received, that's an awesome story. So
yeah, definitely. And then in the end, it was the best thing for me. And that's the way it works, isn't it? The Lord knows where you need to go, what you need to do. And even in your friend's case, there's Elder Bednar gave that talk before COVID randomly about, it's not about where you're assigned or where you end up serving, is that you serve. And I really felt that keenly. Yeah,
for sure. Well, catch us up now from after the mission to now. What have you been up to since then?
Yeah, so that was a funny story, actually. I was serving with Stringfellow, and I had to come back for a university interview. And I was allowed, there's 5 options. I think I get accepted to 3 dental schools. This kind of gives away what I'm doing now. And I think it was Elder Johnson. I had to get permission from the area president to leave the mission. And he said, you can take 1 companion with you. I was in a 3 at the time. I had to pay for his ticket. We've got to go. I've got to wear my badge the whole time. You can choose 1 interview to go to. And so I chose Liverpool University. We went down on the train, and we weren't allowed to tell anybody that we'd left. Stringfellow. I don't know if you ever met him, but he looks like a middle-aged man. He's he was balding at 19. Sorry, Brad, if you're listening. But he came down. He's like this middle-aged man that had groomed me and taken me to Liverpool. So he was down there, and I was sat. We went through this whole interview process, and he was just there with his camera, having a tourist opportunity. And he took pictures of everything. When we got back, we just had to lie about why we had a Liverpool red tourist bus on his camera. But yeah, so that's where I ended up. I was pretty worried about the intense church culture that I was going to go from, to a very different university experience than people had if they were going to BYU or any other church college. But I got into Liverpool, which was amazing in itself. As I think you get now, I think it's like 1 in 30 applicants get accepted. So I felt that the Lord had a hand in that. And so I was there for 5 years. And then after that, I've just worked as associate dentist. 1 year I made 3 goals. 3 of my goals, one was to own my own practice. The second was to do a master's degree in something. The third was to run for Parliament, just a random goal. And so I've done all those things. I was finishing my master's at the University of Chester. Done another postgraduate diploma in the University of South Wales. Done a bit of teaching in the University of Salford. I ran randomly for Parliament a couple of years ago, which was a really fun experience. So kind of family wise, I didn't get married till I was 29. Options here are less than options there. I remember going back actually, as it must be in 2007. I went for the summer, and I met kind of everyone who was all partnered off. They were getting married, and it's like, wow, you guys moved quickly. But I dated around for quite a while, and ended up getting married to a girl from North Ogden. So I married her in the end, and stole her and brought her back. A funny story, actually. She served in the Manchester Mission, where I am, and she had a boy back home. It's funny for me, not for him. She had a boy back home, and he was kind of getting ready for like wedding dates and things. And I convinced her to come on a date. And I took her to Italy, and we spent like a week going around Tuscany. In the end, she just thought my life was, really good.
Well done.
She was less interested in this boy, more interested in me. And so pretty quickly sealed the deal. And we tried to get married here, and we got a letter through the post we tried to get a visa for a wedding, and it was declined. And at the bottom of the visa, it said that basically it says our relationship was a sham, which you can kind of understand because it was about 2 months. And at the bottom of the visa, she said that she had to leave. It was like a deportation notice, and it was just horrific. She had to go to the immigration office, and she had to report to the police station every week, and before she left. And so we actually ended up getting married in the San Diego temple. And just randomly, Justin Van Leuven, you might not know him, but he turned up at the wedding. We hardly had anybody there, but he was just this random wedding crasher. It was so good to see him. And finally, we had just starting our family. I know you guys got kids that are nearly baptismal age or older. We've got a baby boy coming in December. Finally worked out how it works, and we're getting a baby on the way.
That's exciting. Good for you guys. Thank you. That's amazing. So you checked off all your boxes. You got a family. You've got your practice. I do follow you on your Facebook page, and it's always good to see the updates from your practice. And I know anytime I'm in the UK, I know where to go for dental needs.
Yeah, absolutely. I know what you guys say about our dentistry here. Don't pretend like you think it's good.
Listen, there's a difference between having some random doctor performs a dental procedure on you, but to have someone and someone you like and someone you trust, that's a different story, right? So we'll give you are above the standard of what us Americans think of when it comes to healthcare in the UK. So don't worry about that.
I appreciate that. We do actually get quite a lot of American dental tourists, believe it or not. So whenever you need a root canal, come and have a holiday and I'll do it for you.
Just because the cost is less, or what?
Yeah, well, I think so. I think it's like, look, it's about half the price. You guys get ripped off at the dentist.
Yeah, but that's why everybody has insurance, and that's not
why you
any
get
fun.
Anyway,
That's why we get
let's
ripped
carry on.
off. You're
Let's
right.
carry on. Scotland.
You can start at the MTC if you like, but go back through the mission and talk about that. And if there's fun memories on the way, let us know.
Right, just so you know, I had 19 companions. So we had 18 transfers and 19 companions. It sounds like I was a problem missionary, and I'm not sure if I was. Maybe that's true. But so I went into the MTC. It was July the 5th. I'm thinking now, I hadn't even put it together, but the other American missionaries that had travelled in, they must have travelled on July 4th, and just that would have been weird. But there was 68 in our group. It's a huge group. I'm pretty sure that was the biggest group they've ever had. And 16 of those was going to Scotland. And that, you probably remember this, but there was a massive transition. That was President Fredericks, I think it was his first proper intake.
Mm-hmm.
And so I guess there must have been a good chunk leaving. And then 16 of us, which about 15% of the mission coming in. And big group. So I was with Elder Stringfellow, Elder Stoddard, but other people in my group, kind of Elder Clark, Elder Harrison. There's loads of Harrisons. We had Chad and David and Elder Buckley. We had Elder Money in our group. We had just a bunch of people that just carried on serving around in the mission, which was really nice actually to have that connection. You know, you get bound together pretty strongly in the MTC. And carrying that on as a kind of a group within the mission was nice as well. So it was the Preston MTC, and even though I was probably 1 hour from my house, 50 minutes from my house, it was a massive culture shock. You know, I think it was me and one other British guy, and everybody else was American. I think there was a couple of random Germans or something, or Scandinavians. That nobody will ever remember, but there's those guys there, and you were all weird, absolutely, you're all crazy. I remember there's this kids that was in the corridor and they were playing something called nutball, and basically they'd sit chairs across the corridor and they'd like bounce balls and try and get it in each other's crotches, and I just thought, why is you guys are so immature? But then I kind of got over that, learned how to wash my clothes in the MTC, all that kind of stuff that you don't learn until you're out. And it was just a great experience. Our district was fantastic. All the people going to Scotland. We had the teachers, Brother Rushworth, Brother Monday, just fantastic guys teaching us with enthusiasm, getting us ready to go. I remember I was in there for 14 days, so not a long experience, but a meaningful one, and one with memories that last. We go out tracting until you get to Scotland, and then randomly it's chapping. And it was with Elder Clark, and I remember just being there was some girl at the door that spoke to us for 10 minutes, and we just thought, we're going to baptize the world. We were so successful. Somebody spoke to us about the gospel, and we were able to talk to them. And leaving at 14 days, just feeling so prepared. Because of that experience, it's just like it's this kind of spiritual cocoon, isn't it, for 14 days? And just a great experience. And then we'll go to the mission home in Scotland. There's too many of us to fit in the mission home, so we're kind of in these bed and breakfasts. And the next day we get our trainer assignments. And at this point, I knew one family in the whole of Scotland, and I knew you know where I didn't want to go. Obviously, I didn't want to go to Glasgow, right? And I knew one family in the whole of Scotland, and you might know them actually, Zack. They were the Cool family. Coull, and I think they just moved from. He was my ex-bishop, and he literally 2 or 3 months before he'd moved to Buchan, which is in the Aberdeen zone. And all the trainers are getting assigned. I'm getting towards the end, and then I get Elder Megna, and we're going to Aberdeen. I'm pretty sure we whitewashed into Aberdeen, and I was thinking, right, not Glasgow. That's fantastic. Great. Aberdeen. I'm pretty excited about that. I know somebody there. So, my confidence was building. And so yeah, we were whitewashed in. On the train up, I distinctly remember him asking about goals. And do you remember Tobias Megner?
Yeah, we actually spoke to him just a few days ago.
Oh, fantastic. I went to see him afterwards. He's got a beautiful wife, and he's got a couple of kids. Just a top guy. We were going up, and I was saying, I think we should baptize like 5 or 6 people this transfers. And he was like, yeah, okay, maybe. And his goal was very different to mine. His goal was, it was his last 6 weeks. His goal was, I'm going to knock on more doors than I've ever knocked before in my mission. I think he'd just come from being a Dundee zone leader. Mm-hmm. And so he meant it as well. So he was determined that was his goal, knock on as many doors as possible. So we get to the flat. It was Thistle Court, just off Union Street. It's this high rise. You get to the second floor or something. It's over two floors. And we get in. There's like barbecue burn stains on the furniture. I've got no idea what missionaries were doing in there before. Barbecue burn stains on the furniture. You had this bathroom where there's linoleum floor, and every time it was windy, the wind would somehow get in and it would blow up like a tent. This place was nasty, and we had the windows were covered with tin foil, aluminum foil. It looked like a drug den, and that's what we got. That's what we got into. So I was like, great, well, I can deal with this. And actually, at this point, I was starting to struggle a little bit. That kind of piece that I'd received in the MTC, I was struggling. Actually, I don't know if you knew I was struggling, Zach. But I had a really.
You kept it to yourself well. I mean, you could have shared, but yeah.
Well, this is actually what happened. I called my dad, right? Dad, I don't want to be here. Come and get me. You know, it's 7-hour driving. Come get me. My dad says, no, I'm not coming to get you. You're staying there. And then I call President Frederick. So, we'll pray for you, elder. Sister Frederick tells me, well, drink some Sprite. You'll be all right. You know, it's the great advice. So I was really struggling. And Elder Megner was fantastic, though. He didn't make a big deal of it, gave me a blessing. And then we went to work, and we knocked on more doors than you could imagine, right? So Elder Megner was efficient. German guy, he knows what efficiency is. So this is how he worked. No lunchtime. We'll take our lunch with us. We got 30 minutes to eat it, and we'll knock the doors from 10 a.m. till 9 p.m. And he took efficiency to like the next level. He wouldn't poo for 5 days straight, right?
Oh my gosh!
On the 5th day, he takes the enzyme into the bathroom. He'll tell you this, and it takes him 45 minutes to get 5 days out. But he's there for 45 minutes. That's it. That's his bathroom time. 45 minutes. Everything else, knocking doors. So I worked it out. I reckon if we did about 30 to 40 doors an hour, because we never got in any. And we did about 10.5-hour days. We knocked in that 6 weeks about 12 to 13,000 doors. And we got in 0 doors. I was horrific.
Oh gosh.
Terrible. But this is what I needed. I needed just to get to work, you know. We'll go and knock doors. And we got on 1 door, actually, and that was on exchanges with Elder Pattenden. And he missed it.
That's all right. You didn't want me anyway.
Yeah.
You needed some English love.
Yeah. It was fantastic. You two are really good for me, actually. You took, except for when you didn't take us shopping on a freaking P day, and we had to walk because you were off doing some castle tour or something. Anyway,
shoot.
Not that I'm bitter. They were awful. Anyway, so. Yeah, that was it. But we had some good times. We went to the Payne's house for dinner. We went to, I can't remember what the family was called. We went to Banbury Devonick, and there's a massive bull in the field, and just cool things to remember there. I remember we were at the Payne's house with you and Elder Pattenden, and Sister Payne had some bread, and I remember just being, pretty green, and I asked her for the breast, not the bread. Do you remember that?
I do remember that.
And I just thought, what have I done? This is stake president's wife asking for the breast. And then so I said, can I have the breast? And then I thought, oh, I mean the breast. I said it twice. I asked for the breast twice. And finally asked for the bread. But oh my gosh, that whole day. And then we come out and Pattenden is complaining because you've just been to the bathroom and you're still passing gas. So I just remember he used to complain about that a lot. So I've taken it to the Tory humour.
That's that. I've had regularity, unlike Elder Megner. Oh my gosh!
No, yeah, 0 problems there. No gas. He probably let it out once every 5 days.
Jeez Louise.
But I remember that was a horrible experience. Well, not the horrible. It was a kind of coming of age missionary experience, knocking on all those doors. Those times, you've got no idea the relief from knocking on doors, going to dinner appointments, or spending time with you two on P days and things like that. It was, precious time for me. That was nice. But yeah, good times in Aberdeen. We actually had an investigator called Tanda, and we planned to teach her. She'd kind of been failing a little bit, so we kind of got her back on track, got her committing, and I said, right, we're getting to the 3rd lesson. Elder Megner had never taught a 3rd lesson in his whole mission. He'd never taught a 3rd lesson, never asked anybody to be baptized. So I was like, we're going to do this before you go home. And so we took Scott Christie, and we took him with us, and we asked her to be baptized. We taught the 3rd lesson, asked her to be baptized, she said yes. I think that made Elder Megner's mission. All those doors knocked on were just worthwhile. And she was fantastic. She came to church. She was baptized, and just a wonderful experience. That although we had 0 success in everything else, the Lord gave us this kind of little tidbit of success to motivate us and keep us going. Scott Christie then very, very soon after went on his mission, and it was good. So yeah, that was Aberdeen. And do you remember we had Coford and Bockholt who were in Peterhead?
Yeah.
I was so I don't know if I was jealous or I felt like they were just messing around in Peterhead. And they were just teaching loads of people. We come to district meetings and we've been given our numbers. And we'd be like, yeah, we've 0 lessons, 0 baptism invites, 0 schedule. We had Tandem, maybe 1 scheduled every now and again. And they were teaching loads of people and they were having loads of fun. And you could just see they were getting on well. And how are these guys having so much success? And they're just having a blast up there. And I remember my first mission president interview with President Frederick. And he must have thought I was bipolar or something, because, 1 week I'm on the phone saying I want to go home. The next is, what are we doing? We shouldn't be knocking on doors. I'm probably for 25 minutes. I've given all these scriptures, all the preach my gospel. We shouldn't be knocking on doors. This is a terrible idea. Elder Coford and Elder Bockholt, they're just having a good time and teaching loads of people. We should not be doing that. And I was so embarrassed because that was before the zone conference, and during the zone conference, he just gave the whole thing about laying out member missionary work. And I just felt like a right idiot. That I was telling him what he should be doing, and he already knew. So yeah, that was Aberdeen. And no, it wasn't actually, because I had Elder Harlow next.
Yeah, that's right. That was a fun 6 weeks.
Yeah, it was a different 6 weeks. It was fun. Definitely, Elder Harlow is a top chap, and just like lovely, just a nice, genuine fellow. He taught me to juggle, and the experience there was very different, because I was like, 13,000 doors last transfer, Elder. What are we going to do this time? And he brought the map out. I'd never done this before. He brought the map out and said, right, we're going to pray, and we're going to pray until we get three street names that we both feel we should go to. Map of Aberdeen. I don't know how many streets are in Aberdeen. There's a lot of streets in Aberdeen. So sometimes we would pray for an hour. I would get so frustrated. But this isn't how we just get out. We'll see people, and you work very different to me. But it was good though, and I think just kind of having a different experience, almost like a follow-up trainer with him, was great. And I do remember enjoying myself more in that time and being less kind of frantic with knocking on doors. Well, we had a good time. I think that was the time we did Johnny Lingo, right?
Yes, it was.
How did I end up? You were cross-dressing.
There was very little dressing. No.
You were the Relief Society president. You were the Relief Society president in that. So for people that are listening, the Elders Forum had this like video night, right? And we had to come up with like videos of, I don't know what it was. It's like an Oscars night, and every ward did one, or the auxiliaries did one. And the Elders Quorum did Johnny Lingo thing. Somehow I ended up being Johnny Linguino. You ended up being the Relief Society president, and whoever the guy was, the Elders Quorum president, at the end was like wearing a dress and having his hair flowing and wearing a woman's wig. It's all very strange.
That was Jeremy Lamoureux.
That's it, Jeremy Lamoureux.
He was the best Mohana that we could have asked for. Oh my gosh. I get that mixed up now because Disney took that name. But yeah, oh my gosh.
Mohana, you ugly. And he gave me, I got a book tap from him as we went off on our honeymoon.
The funniest part about that whole thing is that I had the role of being the Relief Society president for that one quick scene, and the rest of the time I was the guy recording it, and so I was like trying not to speak so that I could be heard on the camera, but you could hear very, very distinctly as you walk out the door. I was like, slap his butt, and then Jeremy slapped you. And I'm trying to contain myself because we were laughing so hard during the filming that I was like, man, there's no way I would make it in Hollywood. I'd just be laughing the whole time. So, but yeah.
I was #me too. I didn't even know it.
Man, that was so much fun though. I mean,
that was good.
and having Brother Goldie, Sean, as like your Monty Python and the Holy Grail, like he had coconuts he was smacking behind you like you're riding a horse.
I think maybe Jack, you need to put a link to it along with this cast. I think it'd be funny.
I think I do. I really do. I'll have to. I know I have a copy of it, so maybe I'll have to upload it on here so that people can see it because they'll get a good laugh out of it.
Also, maybe not. Yeah. But the Goldies are fantastic, and I remember they had that Baskin Robbins shop, and it was moves night. Yeah. So kind of move on now from Aberdeen. We had move nights, and it happened. I got called to Glasgow. I was terrified, man. I think we went to Bishop Goldie's house, and we all had ice cream, and then we had moves, and I was so anxious I threw up all night. I don't know if you remember that. And I tried to pretend that it was food poisoning from Baskin and Robbins. It wasn't. I was sick as a dog about going to Glasgow. I got called to Bishop Briggs in Glasgow, and I did not want to go there. Horrific. So that was my next area. So I went with Daniel Wilkinson. You two. He was there for a while. You two might know him, and he was the exact right companion that I needed. I think you told me, you said, don't worry, he's pretty street smart. He's from Liverpool. And so I got there. He's a swearer. He would curse. He'd drop F-bombs.
Jeez.
So not on purpose. It's just that's his, that's his background. I think he had a really, really rough background and top missionary. And I won't tell you some of his stories. You should get him on. He's got crazy stories. But he was tough. I think he'd been involved in a lot of he knew his way around a city and how to handle himself, which was great because I did not. And I didn't want a Glasgow smile. Never wanted a Glasgow kiss. Nothing like that. That wasn't for me. I remember the first night we were there, we were supposed to go to a choir practice. So we'd put all our stuff in the flat. We'd whitewashed in. I think we whitewashed in because Glasgow had like 0 missionaries in it. They'd all fallen out. The missions and the stake had fallen out. And President Frederick was trying to refoster these relations. So we got there, put our stuff, and then we were going to this choir practice as a start to, warm up with the members. And we get to the bus stop in the city centre, and you know what my thoughts were about Glasgow? We're standing for the bus. There's about 8 Neds. And I've never used the word Ned since I've left Scotland. And we had 8 Neds. They come with scarves around their head. And there must have been some construction work around the corner because they came with scaffolding, scaffold joints. And they just come to this bus. And they just start it was like something from a war zone. They were throwing these scaffolding through the windows, and they were smashing all the windows. All the people got off the bus. And they were like hoopering and hollering and riding around on these bikes until the bus was trashed. And then they left. And then I was thinking, it's all true. Glasgow is all true. I'm going to die here. And it was just terrible. I'd never seen anything like that since. Just that first night was when I saw this whole thing go down. I thought I went to the war zone and I'm going to get murdered. It was just horrific. Anyway,
that was probably intentionally so that they'd say, let's get the worst of it out of you, and then you'll be like, okay, if anything is worse than that, clearly I know I'm in trouble, but that was the worst bit. You were fine.
There was some worse stuff than that, but that was later on because I ended up in Glasgow twice. So that was the worst. That was the worst thing. But then we had kind of Marcus McBride, Creighton Petty. They were the zone leaders, and I just kind of there's this big push to open up Glasgow, and we were part of that, and it was difficult. There's the relationships, as I said, between the members and the missionaries was frosty. I don't know what had happened before, but there were issues there. And then they went from kind of 2 missionaries for Julian Avenue ward, which must have covered about 1.5 million people. Is crazy. 2 missionaries for 1.5 million people. And then all of a sudden they kind of put 12, 14 in this one ward. It was like, that was a culture shock for them. They all of a sudden we were asking them to do stuff. And but yeah, really good. The leadership at that point, Ella Petty and Marcus McBride, just exactly what they were. They were so enthusiastic, just fantastic chaps. You should get both those on here.
Yeah, they're definitely ones I've reached out to Petty. I haven't been able to find Marcus. I don't know why. He must have gotten rid of his social media, but if you have contact with him, let me know. Yeah,
I will. So yeah, that was Daniel Wilkinson. And then I need to zip through these because I had loads of companions. So next was Elder Guyman. Elder Guyman had 9 sisters. He was the one boy at the end of 9 sisters. Can you imagine that?
No, I cannot.
No. So anyway,
bless his heart.
Yeah, he was a singer. We got on well because of that. And we kind of had that shared thing. I remember that by Bishopbriggs, we didn't have very much success at all there. But I remember we changed washing powder, and it turns out I'm allergic to biological washing powder, and my garments have been washed in this stuff. And essentially, if you can imagine anywhere that your underwear touches, it just turns like this red, angry rash.
Oh no!
And so I'm calling Sister Frederick. She's telling me to drink Sprite. No, she doesn't. She's like, right, you just gotta do what you gotta do, Elder. And I had to kind of wear different underwear and stuff, and I felt like a terrible missionary. And I remember this one time, my thighs are like weeping and bleeding. And Elder Guyman, there was a reason, but we'd missed the bus, and it meant a half an hour walk. And ordinarily that's fine, but when you're crippled, like I was crippled, we got back and we were wet, and I was bleeding. And I need to tell him I'm sorry for that, because I was so narky with him. That's the only time I've ever really felt like I was upset with somebody unduly. But yeah, that was a horrible time. I remember I had 2 suits, 4 shirts, 6 shirts, something like that, and 4 lots of trousers. And there was just days there. It was just horizontal rain, and you'd come back, get changed, go out, get wet, and we ran out of clothes. And so we had to sit in the flat for an hour while the tumble dryer's going. And that's my kind of lasting memories of Bishopbriggs. We had one time actually, Elder Pattenden asked President Frederick to organise this music group, and so I got to bring my trumpet, and we did like a Remembrance Day service. I called the council up and said, "Is anybody doing anything?" They said no. So right, we're going to come, and we sang some hymns. And I took my trumpet to the top between Buchanan Street and Sauchiehall Street. There's like the Opera House and the steps up there. So 11 o'clock, I'm playing the last post on the trumpet. It is amazing. I had such a power rush that everybody stopped. There must have been like 3,000 people on the street stopped, except for one guy who needed to get somewhere. He kept like awkwardly moving. But yeah, we had a good time there. I think it was just kind of moving the work forward, getting the members on board. President Frederick had this vision of member missionary work, and it was kind of just turning those wheels and getting those things started. We had a little bit of success, I suppose. There was the Chunders that were there, and we taught a girl called Milliam, which Elder Gustafson, you'll remember, ended up baptizing a little bit later on. But yeah, that was my time there. And then I escaped the Glasgow Triangle after 3 months. So yeah, that was Glasgow for the first time. So then I ended up going to Chinatown with Elder Wong. So Elder Wong, you two probably won't know him. I think he came out before you came in, but he was a missionary that was. You need to get him on for a different perspective. He'd be amazing. But he was assigned. He was the first assigned Chinese-speaking missionary for Scotland ever, and he was the only one. And he'd had a missionary before him. I think he'd struggled with him. I was moving in, became district leader in that area in Edinburgh, which, by the way, felt like heaven compared to my Glasgow experience. I'm sorry for anybody from Glasgow who's listening, by the way. I love it now. Now I can come back as a tourist. But yeah, so we served together. He's a machine. You'd never seen. He would stop everybody that looked remotely Asian. He would just stop them. He's like the biggest racial profiler in the mission. Sometimes they'd be Japanese and get really upset, but he would just stop everybody. And Elder Hardy was the zone leader at that time. I'm sure he had like a stash of steroids. That guy. He was just, remember him, he had like this square head. He's like a jock, and he would start. He was our zone leader. I was the district leader. He'd get us all up, and we'd do like this weird boot camp thing. And he would just hate everybody. He was fantastic, top guy, and he just treated us all like we were on his American football team. But I really appreciated that. I loved it. He just kind of drove us. But yeah, Chinatown, that was a weird experience for me because I was used to teaching, and then all of a sudden I can't speak Chinese, and so it was a weird like experience dynamic. Sometimes the Chinese people would speak English, and then that would be helpful. I was essentially a helper for Elder Wong, a companion for him to do his thing, and he was amazing at it. And yeah, just you'll never meet a missionary so devoted to the call that he had, so full of energy, no matter how things were going. There wasn't too much success at the beginning, but towards the end he did phenomenally well once he'd built and built and built. He was in the same area the whole of his mission. He had just that one call to teach and then to baptize Chinese people. With him, actually, was the big turning point in my mission. I was with Bishop Bird, and we were scraping wallpaper off his house, and I think he should pay me for that because now he's loaded working for Apple or something in the States. So we were there, and we were talking about girls, and he's like, "You got a girl at home, Elder Lucas?" I said, "Yeah, she's nice." How long have you been out? About 8 months. Yeah, you get dear John'd about 8 months. That's the time you get dear John'd. And my 8-month mark was the next day. Through the door came 2 letters. One from my mum telling me this girl was seeing somebody else.
Oh my gosh.
Terrible. And one from this girl saying she was seeing somebody else. Awful. It's like the worst thing ever. And I don't know if anybody listening being dear John this. It's funny for everybody else, but it's not funny for you.
No.
So I remember I asked Elder Wong actually what his abiding memory of our time together was, and that was it. Lucas getting dear John, but he was fantastic. He took the lead. He said, "Right, let's get out. We'll do some work," and that's how you manage stuff, right? You just get out and get on with it. And yeah, fantastic. He's just fantastic. I love Elder Wong, and yeah, Justin, if you're listening, yeah, reach out. We'll hang out, and I'll come to Texas. I think you need an extra special visa to get there, don't you? So I'll come hang out, and we'll do that. But there was one guy we saw actually, and we brought President Frederick along. This guy, thinking back, he was nowhere near ready for anything, and I asked him to be baptized. And President Frederick afterwards, he said, "Oh, Lucas, what are you doing?" He was he was nowhere near ready to be baptized. But then he said, "Actually, I've thought about it, and we should be doing that more." And then that's kind of, it was a shift in the mission where we started being more kind of more assertive, more confident. I'm looking to preach my gospel, asking people to be baptized from the first lesson, as it says there. And so that was really good. Kind of my confidence in teaching and asking, and was really growing then. And then that was it. 6 short weeks. I get another companion, so I leave there, and we had in the meadows. We had Elder Boughton, and Elder Ehat, and they were struggling a little bit, so they just switched us, and it worked a treat. You can say, there's revelation in those mission calls. And so Elder Ehat went to Chinatown and loved being with all the Chinese folk, eating the weird chicken claws and strange food. And I ended up in the meadows with Boughton, which was good. You guys ever serve in Edinburgh?
Nope, I did not. Nope.
Promised Land, you missed out. Fantastic place. So we were meant for outside of Edinburgh. We were too big for that. Too big for that. Edinburgh couldn't handle you too.
No way.
Yeah, wasn't ready for Hewlett and Jack. So we were there. We had a nice flat. That was nice. We had a dishwasher. It was massive. We had lovely desks. It was nice. And actually, it was the best connected area in terms of public transport. And by the end of it, we were teaching so much that they gave us a car. I pretty much had a car from then on. Actually, it was phenomenal. We were teaching. I went from being in Aberdeen, we were teaching 0 to almost like fully. We stopped knocking doors. That was the thing. We stopped tapping on doors, and we went from no lessons to like 50 lessons. A bunch of people scheduled. Loads of stuff going on. And Elder Boughton was struggling, and he's a really nice kid. And if I've got a regret there, I really pushed him hard, and maybe a little bit too hard, not really kind of recognizing where he was at. But there's one lady there, Mary Wright. She lived on the Royal Mile, and I'm convinced he was sent for her. They had a really good connection, and she entered the waters of baptism. And just seeing him struggling, but still feeling the Spirit as he taught this lady, and that connectedness that's what it's all about. Sometimes we struggle, sometimes we do, and just recognizing and remembering what the purpose is for him was phenomenal. And for me to watch that and to watch her enter the waters of baptism was really good. There was one lady. This is my miracle story for this area. There's a guy called Jamie Cairns who was in Edinburgh. I remember he just there was a girl that he brought with him. So at the end of the sacrament meeting, I went and chatted with them and said, I realized she wasn't a member. Gave them the number, say, if you ever want to get taught, you just give us a call. About 2 months later, I get this call from Jamie saying, hey, she's ready to get taught now. And so I go over. I don't know why. I had a greenie then, Alan Slater, top guy, but he ended up going with Boughton. I ended up going with Elder McConkie. And no, I think he was with us actually. So we went and taught this lady, and she was saying that she'd been to this fireside in Ayr, and President Yates had invited everybody there that wasn't baptized to pick a date that they were going to get baptized. So I said, what was your date? And she said, no, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the date is. It's not doable. So go on, what was your date? So this was a Tuesday, and her date was the Saturday. So this fireside was like 6 months ago, and the date that was coming up was the Saturday. I said, well, let's do it. Let's do it. So she said, okay. So we just scheduled in all the lessons that were needed. and we went Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We got to Friday. I'm getting this phone call from Jamie saying, she's really anxious and she's not feeling good about getting baptized at all. I don't think we're going to be able to do it. So okay, well let's come over. We'll teach her. So I took Elder McConkie this time. I had this lesson plan. It's fantastic. We're going to get her straight, and she's going to get baptized the next day. So I showed her just this testimony from I think Special Witnesses of Christ, and then I just had this distinct impression what I needed to do next, and it made zero sense. So I said, right, what we're going to do now, you just watch this little video for 5 minutes, read Joseph Smith history, give it the verses to read, and we're going to leave, and then we'll come back again. So we leave. Elder McConkie's like, what are you doing? And we walk around, Elder McConkie and Jamie Cairns, and we go back in half an hour later, and she's crying, and she said, I feel great. I feel wonderful. I really, really connect with what Joseph Smith was saying. I know it's true. I'm going to get baptized tomorrow. And the next day she was baptized. And for me, I think sometimes we get caught up. I know I did. I read back some of my journals. I was such a prideful idiot. And sometimes you just, it's literally is not us teaching. It's the Spirit that teaches. And that was, there was nobody else in the room. It was 100% the Spirit that was teaching. We just left her to feel the Spirit, heed the teaching, and gave her the testimony that she needed to gain the confidence, overcome the anxiety and the fiery darts to enter the waters of baptism. Phenomenal experience. And keep in contact. She's on Facebook now, and they went to Japan, Tokyo, and they're doing really well.
That's amazing.
Yeah. But I need to because I've got tons of companions left and we're running out of time. So then I moved to Glasgow, back to Glasgow, sucked back in, vortex. And I was there for 10 months again. So I'd been there already for 3 months, Julian Avenue Ward, back to Julian Avenue Ward after 6 months hiatus in Edinburgh. And I was there for 10 whole months as only there in Glasgow. And that was tough. I felt like I'd done my Glasgow stint. Managed it, survived. Back to the exact same area, not the area, but the same ward. People in the ward didn't even realize I'd gone. I'd gone for 6 months. I come back, oh, Lucas, how you doing? And actually, there's a guy, Sandy Duncanson. I was in that ward for 13 months. I saw Sandy Duncanson at the temple, and he was looking at me and so, where did you serve your mission? I said, Sandy, I was in your ward for 13 months. How did you forget? So I need to talk about hammer time. You two will not know what that is.
Nope.
So Glasgow Zone, I was introduced to the idea of hammer time. So I replaced Elder Brian, who'd become assistant. I was with Elder Stringfellow. And they'd come up with this principle of hammer time. I don't know what had happened. I don't know the background of the inception of hammer time, but everybody that is from me and afterwards will know what this means. They'll have either positive feelings or very negative feelings about it. So I feel like I need to explain a little bit. So essentially it was kind of, we were exactly obedient with accountability. And that was kind of implemented pretty heavily. So we just demanded that from everybody, from ourselves, from the other missionaries. And that combined with the missionary work, we went from baptizing 9 in a year in Glasgow Zone to that month baptizing 30, and every month after that 30, 32, 28, consistently baptizing a lot of people. And it was all down to that. It was down to that. Some people I know will have negative feelings about that approach. And so for anybody that was upset about how that went, I am personally sorry if you feel like that was something that went too far from certain people. But for me, it was something that was just very kind of preach my gospel orientated, exact obedience, and it made people. There's people like Kofod who really jumped on board with it. There's others as well that just Van Leuven actually, just missionaries like that who just when they got on board, just phenomenal. Human beings got it and got to work, got a lot of success because of it. So yeah, that was the thing. So there I served with Stringfellow. I served. From that point on, no more knocking on doors. I served with Stringfellow. I was with Elder Johnson, Elder Garrett Smith, Elder Money, Elder Fistler. It was weird because I would stay. Missionary would come, go, and I was thinking, when's my turn? When am I going to get out of here? I was well and truly stuck in, the pinnacle of this Glasgow triangle. The blackest parts of the Glasgow triangle was where Elder Lucas was. And I just remember thinking, what's going on? The leadership started asking for me to leave. They'd go to these, we stopped getting invited. I don't know why. They didn't like me very much. We had missionaries saying that they've been to the state presidency's house, and he was like, yeah, we've asked for him to leave. He won't be here for very long. I was there for like another 6 months after that. And it just kept happening. Missionaries come, missionaries go, and like they loved, all the ward loved Jeremiah Johnson. And I love him. Fantastic. He left. And then because I'd been there for so long, these missionaries kept coming. The ward started thinking I was like this dictator of the zone, and that I'd somehow engineered Elder Johnson to leave because he was taking power or something. It was like weird stuff going on. But it didn't matter. We were baptizing. I remember there was this one girl called Gillian, and I'd had a personal commitment that I wasn't going to baptize one person. We're going to bring everybody to the waters of baptism, and then a member would baptize them. So they had that kind of connectivity to somebody in the ward that would be abiding and lasting. And she was having a baptismal interview, and I was in the room next door, and I was telling this commitment to her friend. And then she came in and asked me to baptize her, and I said no. And it was just like, so I ended up baptizing her anyway. But anyway, we came outside of her flat, and I remember looking left, and there was just this massive gang of Neds. And luckily our car was there, so we went to a car. I looked right, there's this other massive gang of Neds. In this particular area of Glasgow, you'd walk past the streets and there's like bars, there's pieces of wood with nails in, just in the gardens. I asked her, what is with this stuff in people's gardens? She said they're koshes. And what's a kosh? She said, if you're a person that needs this weapon, you can't just carry it around. So they just like hide them in people's gardens. So this gang, they're all getting these koshes from the gardens, and there's like chains, and there's these metal poles, and we just sat in the car, and outside of this thing after this baptismal interview, there's just two gangs just like collide. There's this almighty brawl. So we're sitting there, we had popcorn, we were getting the popcorn out. I was there. Yeah, it was scary. Stuff like that, man. That was scary. Anyway, she got baptized. So yeah, and then we baptized her sister as well. It was pretty cool. I remember with Elder Johnson, actually, we had just a funny story. There was something in Springboy that happened, and we were out later than perhaps we should have been, but it was one of those necessary evils. And we were driving back from Springboy to the West End, and we drive through the city centre. We go through the city. We got flashed, on double-decker buses. There's women flashing missionaries from the top. Anyway, so we decided that we'd drive back, and it was a Friday night. There was lots of scantily clad women. So they need to, I don't know whose idea. I don't even know why I'm telling you this story. It just comes to my mind. So we drive up next. We say, hey, we're missionaries. We shouldn't have said the church's name, but I think we did. And we come to teach you a lesson. They come to the car, and there's like short skirts and whatnot. And we're Elder Johnson. I'm pretty sure it's him. I said with so many, it could be a blur, it could be Garrett Smith. So apologise if I'm besmirching names here. Hands over a Law of Chastity pamphlet, and we give them these Law of Chastity pamphlets out. We'd wait about 20 seconds for them to realise what it was. They were nuts, and then we just kind of drive away. So,
oh my gosh!
We had a good time there. But yeah, Elder Johnson, top man. Get him on. He's fantastic. Went from him with then Elder McCullers. Elder McCullers, I've never eaten so much than with that guy. He loved his takeaways. We had a guy who's we baptized called Razor. He was working in one of these. I think it was like a Turkish fish and chip shop or something like that. We'd go every day, just give us free stuff. Oh man, this makes me feel sick just thinking about it. But he was fun there with him. We We gave Donny Osmond a sacrament meeting. We had a 5-hour baptism. We had a 5-hour baptism. We had a guy we were teaching who had a girlfriend in our area and a wife in Pollock, and they didn't know that. And the girlfriend had 2 babies and 1 on the way, and the wife had 3 kids. I didn't even know he was married. Anyway, we get this phone call, and he says, "Can you come and pray at my wife's mother's died, and they're having this funeral?" So we'll come. We didn't realize he wasn't talking about his girlfriend. So he then takes us to Pollock. We go into this thing that everyone's having this massive party and this video, and we know he's got a girlfriend across town. It was the weirdest thing. Anyway, this guy had a friend. Who was from London, and he brought her to church with him, and she was phenomenal. Her name was Temmie, and I think we taught her at 9 o'clock in the morning. We committed to be baptized. We got permission from the mission president. Bishop was fine with it, and so we taught her at 9 o'clock. We then gospel principles was another lesson after church while the font was filling. We taught the next lessons, and then 5 hours after we met her, she was baptized and confirmed member of the church. So we then had all our information. Fantastic experience. What a wonderful lady of faith she was, and then handed those details. That's how it went. We would. I think Elder Coford gave a story about Graham Buchanan and how he was baptized. The end of another baptism, the font was empty. He says he wants to get baptized. So we're frantically, pans and heating kettles up and chucking all the water in, and people would get baptized pretty quick. And it was, those were good days. All of a sudden, we've gone from baptizing hardly anybody to just, the work had gotten apace. So then I was with Elder Garrett Smith. I can't remember what happened on a lot of this stuff. My journal is dreadful. I wrote in it 6 more months because I put depression stuff in there or whatever.
Oh,
so then Garrett Smith, fantastic. I can't remember anything. I just remember we had a lot of fun. He was good. And then last one in Glasgow was Elder Fissler, Matt Fissler. He definitely has to come. And I've been there now. I was in Glasgow 9.5 months. I've been in Glasgow for then 12.5 months in the same ward. Unbelievable. And wow. This time, so I was jealous of COVID at the beginning. I was jealous of COVID now. So I've repented of this, but I'll share it. So last time I'd seen COVID, he was like this goofball in Peterhead. And he'd become district leader. He was only in Edinburgh for 3 months or something. And then he'd just been made assistant. I was like, what? I hated people that aspired. That's not true. I hated the aspiring nature that some people had. And I hated that I had this jealousy. And he was called to be, he's like a goofball. What's he doing? How's this going on? I've been passed up. I'm stuck. President, I'm still here in Glasgow 10 months later, right? And so I had to get over that. It was like a week that I'd had to get over that. But we had some good times. The mission had a goal of 238 baptisms, which is double the previous years. We had this boy, John O'Rourke, who's one of Elder Van Leuven's investigators in the zone. And there's something happened. He couldn't get baptized in the font. I don't know what had happened. The font wasn't working. There was an issue with the bishop or whatever. And President Frederick said, right, we've got to baptize him. John wanted to get baptized in a lock. So we decided, right, can't use the font, off to Loch Lomond. So this is the 12th of December. It's cold. We get there, it's starting to snow a little bit. Really, really cold. It's starting to snow a little bit. We've got his young men's president, who was a recent convert, was baptizing him. And so we've got this photograph, and there's me, Elder Fissler, Van Leuven, his companion, John O'Rourke, and the young men's president. They're dressed in white. He gets in, right, in freezing cold. The young men's president attempts to baptize him once, foot comes up. Does it twice, he puts him under, he said the wrong words. Third time, he's done. The young men's president gets out, I can't do it anymore, I can't feel my toes, nothing. This lad he's full of the spirit, he's full of fire, he's fine, wants to carry on. I'm the only person that fits in this young men's president's clothes, because I'm little, and he was little. So there was this little shed next to the lock. He got out of his clothes. I put his wet baptismal clothes on, and I ended up going in the lock and baptizing John for the 238th one. Man, that was cold. I never felt the cold after that. I think like my nerve endings had died or something while I was in there. But that was an incredible experience. That firstly in the lock, secondly in the snow. Not a good experience really, or not one that I planned, but just a fantastic memory there. And that was with Elder Fistler. One last story with him. So do you remember I was saying that it got, well, there's two stories. So one, the nutball thing from the MTC, right? You immature member. Somehow that had creeped back into our mission. I think it was Justin Van Leeuwen that had done it, and he done it to the ward mission leader. It was just terrible. Anyway, so somehow that creeped back in, and Fistler and I would like somehow there's like an opportunity to just like throw something at each other's crotch because that's really mature, you know. There's one time we were so tired, we'd come back from whatever we were doing, and he was just like dead on his feet, and he's sticking his arms up, and he's like leaning into the door frame like this, and his arms are stretched and his legs are stretched. I got these juggling balls from when Elder Harlow told me to juggle, right? They're on the, there's like a little shelf next to the door. Elder Fistler's talking, he's so tired, his eyes are like half closed, but it's just perfect. You know, I couldn't pass this opportunity up, right? So I grabbed this mini juggling ball and I just let rip and fight. I know I didn't play baseball or anything, but I was a good shot. It was like perfect aim, and he just doubled over. Now, if anybody knows Matt, he's really hard to get angry. Really hard. You can try, and he just won't do it. He was angry. He was so angry. And so I did what any self-respecting man would do, and locked myself in the bathroom. While he was just raging outside. And now I've gone too far. I've gone too far. So what am I going to do? This is bad for me. And on the side of the sink was this little Tupperware thing. I was wearing baggy trousers. I hatched a little plan. So I got the little Tupperware tub, popped it down as like a little protective cover. And I said, all right, Elder, I'm coming out. You're right. So I came out and I said, fair play, I've gone too far. You can have a free shot. I knew it wasn't going to hurt. I was protected. But to his credit, he didn't take it. And that's kind of that for me is the measure of the man that is that fist. And because I knew it was 6 weeks before, that's Garrett Smith. He's taking the shot and he's going to enjoy it. So yeah, good thing. Last thing, so the Ned bus thing. When I was saying there was more violence than that, right? So he and I were in this high-rise flat in Maryhill, which, by the way, was one of there's areas on the map that was covered in a pirate's skull, like a skull and crossbones. What the heck? What is this? Postle Park, Maryhill, both had skull and crossbones over. We ignored that. We didn't really know what that meant. Anyway, so we there was this Lamb of God thing. Somebody had ordered one, so we went, and it was like the 20. There's 30 floors. It was right on the top, and so we knock on the no, nobody's there. We like a little note through the letterbox, and we said, "All right, we're here. Let's start chapping on the door." So we chap on the door. This guy comes out the door next door, and he's like, "What are you doing here? Get out of my building!" And we're so stupid. We asked him if he wanted to be baptized, because that's what we did. He thought we were just being disrespectful, and maybe we were. And so he's get right in Elder Fistler's face, and he said, "Okay, right, we'll leave." So we don't leave. We go to the 29th floor, and we're just knocking on doors. And then all of a sudden, we just hear this, and we're like, "What the heck is that?" And so we look to the right. Now, anybody's been in these high flats, the way it works is a lift in the middle. There's a stairwell on the right-hand side. There's a stairwell on the left-hand side. Some guy pops his head through the stairwell door, and he's, "There they are, get them!" Right? I kid you not, there's about 6 people, baseball bats, knives, the whole shebang, right? I am terrified. So I see what's going on here, and I'm like, "Elder, run." Matt's a little slower than I am. His reactions were not quick. And so he takes about 2 or 3 seconds to realize what's going on. So we run down the stairwell on the other side, while 3 of them start chasing us. 3 of them get in the lift. And so I'm just running bam, 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 down. We just not steps. We're just clearing all the steps, running down with my Jesus Christ falling out of my bag in slow motion. And luckily, Elder Fistler's behind me because they're going to get somebody. It was going to be him, not me. So I'd down the stairs. 29 floors. We get to the bottom. We're quicker than the guys above us. We get to the bottom of the stairwell, and we run across the front of the building. Bing! The lift doors open, and there's like these 3 other guys with their knives and baseball bats start chasing us. And we get into the car, and Elder Fistler, just drive the car. And they're like smacking on the car. And it's like it's something from a comedy sketch we were stuck in, so I was kind of reversing forward. And we got away. But that was absolutely, for the next 2 days, I was like shaking. And for still now, I've got damage to my foot and hip on the right-hand side from just running and jumping down those stairs. And turns out these guys were bragging about it all around, saying they were going to kill us. The next day, we were at a member's house or a less active's house, and they were telling us the stories that they'd heard at school about this gang that done this, and apparently they'd like killed an asylum seeker or something the day before. Scary stuff, man. Scary stuff. But I love Glasgow. Glasgow's a great place. I have no reason to be scared of Glasgow. Lovely place.
Yeah, no reason at all.
Right, so yeah, just finally, because I know time is running on, but then I had 19 companions though. It's your own fault for making me go through them.
You've got to hold the record of some sort in the mission. I've never heard that.
Is anybody that's had more than 19 companions? I'd like to know. So then I was called to be assigned to be assistant with Elder Stringfellow and Elder Cofer. And this point, we were teaching somebody at this point in Glasgow, Amy Asante. She was a PhD law student, fantastic, so clever, and we had this real connection. We felt like we were getting somewhere. President Frederick gives me a call. So we'd like to call you to the office when to come and be an assistant. So and remember 6 weeks before I'm like gutted that COVID's gone. I'm saying let's do it next moves. We've got this amazing investigator. I don't want to leave. It's like, Elder Lucas, that's not really how it works. We're calling you into the office. And for me that was a big shift, and I needed that shift to remember why I was there and to do that. We had a lot of fun in the office. Cofer, is just a hoot. So fun. I was with Stringfellow again. Stringfellow again for 6 weeks, and then Cofer for 3 months, maybe another 6 weeks, and then Elder Johnson at the end, which I served with for the second time. Just one last funny story was with Elder Cofer. So we had Elder Holland had visited the mission, and so we had to get all that kind of stuff ready. Now he started off in Aberdeen. We got up about 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. And we were tired all the time. You probably remember that. Just both of you, just tired all the time. So 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning, we're going up to Aberdeen. I'm driving. I have a tendency to drive a little bit too fast. Not anymore, in case this incriminates me. So Elder Cofer would do this thing. If I was like anywhere near starting to fall asleep in the car, which missionaries do, I don't know how we all survive. I have no idea how we all survive. He would just grab me on the leg, just like a wake up. Anyway, so on the way there, he's grabbed me. I'm kind of like half asleep. I'm driving this car, and he goes to grab me on the leg. And there's a common theme here, but he missed my leg and caused me significant pain for what he actually grabbed. And I'm probably driving 80, 90 miles an hour, and I'm just like all over the motorway. And I was ticked with him. We didn't talk for about 10, 15 minutes. What are you doing? And obviously I thought he was to blame. He thought I was to blame for falling asleep, and it was just a mistake. Anyway, so that was on the way there. On the way back, Elder Holland and Elder Kerr were driving back to Edinburgh, and we had some stuff to do. So I'm driving back. We're going from the road between Aberdeen and Dundee, and then Dundee to Edinburgh. So we're on the Forfar road, which is between Aberdeen and Dundee. And I'm driving along now. I hope nobody listens to this. That gets me in trouble. But I get in trouble anyway. So I'm driving too fast. I'm driving 114 miles an hour in the mission car. That car goes about Fastest I've ever done there is 135 in that car. The Mission van, by the way, 115. If anybody's beat that, you let me know.
Oh my gosh.
There's a stretch between Aberdeen, Glasgow and Edinburgh that's like downhill for about 15 miles. Mission van, that's the fastest I could get it on that bit. So anybody beats that, you let me know. Anyway, so I'm going 114 miles an hour. I look in the rearview mirror and I just see this police car. No sirens, just blue lights. And I think, oh no, this is not good. Elder Clark, by the way, is in the back because he's been playing his cello. And yeah, this police car is, and I'm just ignorantly thinking maybe it's not for me. So I just like pretend no, it's not me. So I move into the slow lane and just like keeping my head down. Then they move into the slow lane and yeah, I pulled over. Apparently they were following me for like 4 or 5 minutes before I'd realised. So yeah, 114 miles an hour. So I'm getting out the car. Elder Clark is wetting himself in the back. And he's taking this video. So there's a video out there somewhere of me getting put in the back of a police car. So the police take me out. As I'm getting pushed into the back of the police car, there's a Jaguar drives past. In the passenger seat of the Jaguar is Elder Holland, just like watching me getting pushed in the back of this police car. You couldn't write this off. Elder Care, it was driving, and they're just watching me getting. But it couldn't be any worse. Oh my god! So I get in the back of this police car. I know what's going to happen. I'm in trouble. I'm probably going to get my license taken off. Anything over 100 is an automatic ban. The guy says, right, I'm going to book you at 99.7 or whatever it was, and we'll see what happens to you. And because he sees I'm a missionary, I think he's being kind, whatever. And then, so Elder Clark still got this. I want to see this video. So if he's got it, you can see if you can send it to me. Back in the car, I'm driving like 30 miles an hour all the way home. So we get back, and I'm hoping they've not seen, and that somehow me seeing Elder Holland give me eye contact, getting pushed in the back of this car. Elder Care comes up to the kitchen where I'm, and he's Elder Lucas, are you okay? Everything go all right? They'd seen the whole thing. So then President Frederick gets me in. What happened? So I told him what happened, and he was so good with me. He just said, don't tell anybody. I'm telling everybody now. Last Friday, I was sat at a red light, and I don't know what overcame me, but I just decided to go, and I drove through the red light, and there's a police car across the road, and he just got given 3 points as well, so it made me feel good. But that was, that was the assistantship, terrible thing. But yeah, that's the mission then. So after that, we prayed about who was going to replace me in the transfer process. And there was a missionary who was a phenomenal missionary who we thought, he's bang on. He needs to be the next guy. And we just felt it's not him. I don't think it was anything for him. It was just we felt so good about Tobias Halford. He was going to come in. And after I left, the whole hammer time thing was changed and felt like there was more love needed to be brought into the mission. And I feel like after I left, we'd done what we needed to do. We changed the dynamics. We got that success there. And then the obedience was there. And Elder Halford and Elder Johnson kind of brought some more softness, more love into the mission, which was just phenomenal. So, yeah, really, really good experience. I loved my mission. Just thinking back, it was hard. It was difficult. I was tired all the time. And just thinking back, just the things we did was nuts. And it's kind of set a precedent for the rest of my life, because I still do nuts things, which I would never ever be like if I hadn't served around people like you and Coford and Hardy, Peacock, crazy folk. And but I'm really, really.
Well, thank you.
That's that's my mission.
That's amazing. Well, I'm glad that we had a positive influence on you in some semblance of the word.
Yeah. Well, listen, I married an American girl, and I love the American culture, the Mexican food.
That's not American culture. That's Mexican culture.
No, I'm serious though. I love having kind of a foot in both camps, and mission started that. So, yeah, good positive experience.
No, I appreciate all the things you shared, and it sounds like, similar to other missionaries that served after the time that I was there. The mission changed in quite a drastic click, to the point where there was just so much going on and so many new ways of doing missionary work. Like, I'm looking at your 13,000 doors knocked with Elder Megner, to a point in the mission where you did not knock doors anymore, which, Jack and I heard that the first time, and I was like, I can't imagine what that even looks like, because in our time with President and Sister Vriens, the promise was the more you chapped, the hotter your wife would be, and if it was raining, it was even better.
Yeah.
So, it's just such an amazing dynamic and a shift that clearly was needed in that land, and to involve the members and to continually grow the church family. It wasn't about us, right? It was about the members of the wards and the branches getting involved, and understanding that they have an integral say and a part in missionary work just as much as we did as full-time missionaries. So it's really cool to hear that experience from your perspective.
Yeah, 100%. But it was about us as well. If I look at the missionaries from that I know, and see what they're doing now, I mean, the mission just made them. There's just some people doing phenomenal things, and I can't imagine they would be doing that and being the way they are in their wards, in their jobs, in their families, if it wasn't for the experience that they had in Scotland. And I'm grateful for that, because I know the influence that it's had on both my testimony, but also on everything. Every part of my life is affected by those 2 years in a positive way.
No, love to hear that. Well, you've mentioned quite a few missionaries in our conversation today. Is there anyone else you can think of that you want to hear from as we're continuing in this endeavor?
Right. I've been thinking about this, right? It's 2022, and we had sister missionaries in the mission as well. And I would love to hear from Andrea Holmquist, who was just a phenomenal sister missionary. I mean, they were all phenomenal. I served around her quite a bit, and she's doing some great things now. And it'd be great to hear from her. I've mentioned Justin Wong. In terms of just a different perspective of mission, his was just amazing. It'd be great to hear from him. So yeah, particularly those two, I think it'd be great to hear from them and kind of see how they're getting on. And of course, the ultimate is you got to get President Frederick on.
Yeah, that would be. We are talking to President Sister Vriens here in the near future. As far as the Fredericks, I haven't had contact with them since I got home.
Yeah. You should. I think you're getting Alistair Martin, Richard McConkie on soon.
Yeah.
Certain they reach out that he'd come on. Well, I hope so. It's worth a go.
We're actually, we're talking to Alistair and Richard next week, and so we'll see if they can put us in touch with the Fredericks. I mean, I'm going to share an interesting experience I had after my mission. So I was in Newport Beach, California with my wife and her family on a family vacation. And we came out to our car on our way out, and lo and behold, the people that were staying directly below us was President Sister Frederick and their family. And
that one family tribe.
Yeah, I mean, there's a huge group of mostly boys and men. I couldn't believe it. But I hopped out of the car and I said, "Hello, it's good to see you." And I don't think they remembered me from Adam. Like, bless their hearts. I mean, I was only in the mission for a short 6 months while they were kind of running around with their hair on fire. But I said hi. I'm Elder Hewlett. I served underneath you in Scotland, and they were like, "Oh, good to see you." And then there was like no conversation, and I was like, I was in leadership training with you for months and months, and like we talked on the phone all the time. How on earth do you not resonate that we had 6 months of our lives that were like intertwined? But
Yeah.
So again, it took a different level of missionary than myself to to connect with them and get the ball rolling, and it sounds like that's exactly what happened right after I left.
Yeah. No, they were fantastic, but to be fair, I think they must have had 250, 270 missionaries pass through, and I don't know. I imagine it'd be difficult. I was thinking about everything today, over the past week or so, and just trying to recall names and really thinking hard about it. Some of the times it's difficult. I might have even missed companions out, so if I have, I'm really sorry for those that I've missed out. But yeah, it'd be great to hear from them all the same. But at least let them know about this so they can see what everybody's doing and remember some things from what I imagine must have been a phenomenal time in their lives.
No, definitely, and that's truly one of the invitations that we've presented to those that are on this podcast is to share that with your mission presidents or share it with other significant people in your mission. Even the members in Scotland, just to say, hey, I talked about you or mentioned you in a podcast that I did thinking about Scotland. Hope you're doing well. Just like a touch point opportunity as well that hopefully can reconnect people in some semblance. But more than anything, I know that we'll get many of missionaries from areas beyond myself and vice versa, even before Jack's time and my time, that has really been quite interesting. I mean, we've also had missionaries that have invited us to have President Wilkinson on, who was before President Sister Vriens, and I hadn't even thought about that because that was before me and before Jack, but it's still not an impossibility. It's just a matter of putting all those things together. So we'll definitely keep that in mind.
Yeah, fantastic. And for this one, you can pop this one through a lawyer, just in case I've said something I shouldn't have said. That'd be good.
As much as I wish we could, maybe we have one of our fellow missionaries that might come on and let us know if you've said too much or whatever. But
cool. Well, thank you again, guys. I really appreciated it. A little nice trip down memory lane.
Yeah, we really appreciate your time. And Jack, do you have any parting thoughts?
No, thank you. That was a whirlwind tour for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's condensing 2 years into like an hour and a bit. It's crazy.
I know it can be, but nonetheless, it'll spark some more memories. We've had past guests that have come back to us and said, you know what, I should have talked about a heck of a lot more things, and they've forgotten about. And some of this is that prompting to dig out your missionary box and go through your journals and try and remember some of those things, because you never know. I mean, those things are important. There's a reason why we wrote them down. So, well, Christian, thank you again. We really appreciate you. We love you as one of our brothers from Scotland, and we look forward to talking with you more and more. And in the interim, let us know if there's anything that we can be of assistance to. But thank you for taking time with us today.
And again, thank you for everything you two are doing. It's fantastic.
Awesome. We love you, Christian. Have a good rest of your night, brother.
Take care. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye, man.